So Mutahar dropped this absolute bombshell of a video, this absolute nuke, this absolute career-destroying, reputation-shattering force to be reckoned with on Keffals. Not like she had much of a reputation left anyways, but regardless of that, a lot of us have been waiting on this video for months now. It's a great video. It goes through a lot of Keffals' dramas, a lot of her lies, her deceptiveness, and scandals, respectfully and fairly. There's a lot of good criticisms and points that he made, without bringing up some of Keffals' more disgusting history or resorting to other negative strawmans, such as calling her a pedophile, and he even sympathizes with the fact that the whole pedojacketing scandal could in fact be a very real issue, if she wasn't just using her identity as a way to deflect criticism and make herself a victim of something she was not involved in. Points that I even made myself in my past videos. But regardless of that, regardless of all the amazing points, evidence, and proof that Mutahar provided in regards to Keffals scamming her audience for $100,000, regardless of all the hard-hitting resources and information Mutahar provided, the issue that everyone is picking apart so desperately right now, the issue that Keffals herself has with this video, is the thumbnail. Not any of the criticism and truth bombs he dropped, not any of the disgusting behavior, not the fact that Mutahar called her out on essentially her entire career as a so-called activist, not any of that. Just the thumbnail. So here's what she had to say. I understand people have criticisms of me. I don't think I am above being critiqued. That said, was it really necessary to use a transphobic caricature of me in a thumbnail while also not using my pronouns in the video announcement? And what's funny about her response here is that, one, that caricature that she's talking about, the art, is made by an artist known as JustAWorm on Twitter, who has done caricatures of several individuals, several YouTubers for that matter, pretty well known, pretty well respected, people who are known for being her detractors, including Mutahar himself, amongst many other people. I'll show you his art right now. I even chimed in and said that JustAWorm is known for this type of art and has drawn other individuals to look far worse than this image, but it only gets better after what she followed up with. But before we get into that, let me point something out. Notice how Keffals says that Mutahar didn't use her preferred pronouns in the video announcement, when he in fact does. He addresses her by her pronouns. He even does so thoroughly in the video. He makes sure that he doesn't misappropriate her pronouns at all. This is just another case of Keffals using her identity and her identity politics as a shield, something that Mutahar has heavily criticized her on in that video specifically. Then Keffals said this: I think if my actions themselves are heinous, you wouldn't need to dehumanize me to an audience of millions of people in order to make the points you wanted to make. The bar for this was incredibly low, and Mutahar managed to still fumble it. At first, when I saw this response, I assumed that Keffals had just never seen art done by JustAWorm, which is strange because he has been rising in popularity recently for making good, grotesque art for just about anyone on the internet, and his art has been frequently used in many popular videos. I even used his art in some of my first videos because I thought it parodied people pretty well, but no, Keffals fully knew who JustAWorm is, and even used his wash art before in one of her thumbnails, so to throw the dehumanizing buzzword out there to garner sympathy is just that, a manipulation tactic to get rabid virtue signaling pussies to think this was some transphobic jab for sympathy, for virtue. This resulted in some people coming out and saying shit like, look at Mutahar's thumbnails, there is nothing else similar to it on his YouTube channel. This one was made specifically to mock Keffals. There is actually a very reasonable explanation to this, and the explanation is that JustAWorm makes great art that invokes attention because of its grotesque nature. Wojak thumbnails on YouTube perform very well. People love Wojaks. Wojaks, for the most part, are pretty well not flattering at all, and JustAWorm's art, in my opinion, has that same Wojak energy and vibe to it. That type of energy that makes people seem not so flattering. Many YouTubers have used his art for thumbnails, and many have found success in that choice and commissioned JustAWorm for artwork of people that they're making videos on. It's a disingenuous argument to say that Mutahar used this specifically to dehumanize her and be transphobic when it's just a good choice overall for clicks and views, which is obviously working. Not to mention the fact that Keffals is deserving of scrutiny. She's deserving of parody. She's deserving of mockery. And before someone says, oh, so you support people harassing, stalking, doxing, and showing up to people's houses? And my answer to that is no, I don't. But humiliating someone for their horrible and disgusting mistakes is fair game. Then there's people out here spreading misinformation and just being incredibly bigoted in their own right, acting on preconceived notions. First, we got morons out here saying that this artwork was done by a known transphobe, when JustAWorm is just an artist who, as far as I know, and I've been following him for nearly a year now, has never said anything that could even be remotely confused for transphobia, and mainly posts art and projects instead of political opinions. Then there's tweets like these where people are stating Mutahar has always had weird vibes, and that the thumbnail is full send. I mean, what's that supposed to mean? You think Mutahar is a far-right conservative or something? You think that he's an alt-right insert other buzzword here type of person? Because that's not who Mutahar is. Throughout this entire video, Mutahar makes sure to disavow people and communities who are transphobic or bigoted in other forms. He makes it incredibly clear on more than one occasion. These people just don't like Mutahar because of preconceived notions, because they never actually bothered to watch him for any amount of time. Probably because he associates with people like Wendigoon, who have been unjustly critiqued of being alt-right because he's devoutly religious, because he's monogamous, married, and likes Turkey Tom. There's just straight up disingenuous and false claims being made by just about everyone in this sphere, getting their britches in a bunch over things that just aren't there. Like this tweet, for example. It's literally a transphobic caricature created by Kiwi Farms. No, it isn't. You only said that because you actually don't know what's going on. You're just making assumptions, which is a terrible thing to do when it comes to situations like these, because now you're painting somebody as this transphobic alt-right individual when that's simply not the case. I almost forgot to mention that people are genuinely assuming that JustAWorm is transphobic and bigoted, lashing out at him. If it is a him, to be honest, I'm not so sure, and if you're not, I apologize. Anyways, people have just been making absurd claims towards these individuals that are just outright smearing them as things they are not. And honestly, I won't tolerate JustAWorm slander. That's the GOAT right there. His art is going to make everyone's thumbnail game blow the fuck up on this scene, as if it already hasn't. People are actually just reaching to find anything they can grab to make something stick against Mutahar and JustAWorm. Things that just aren't there. This is all propagated by the fact that people on Twitter, especially on that side of Twitter, just love to be incredibly virtuous and seem like they're the good guys. Always getting incredibly offended at things that have no reason to be offensive for you. Sticking your neck out for someone that would defraud you of $100,000 at any point in time, just so you can be seen as the person that stood up for the whatever identity this person wants to associate themselves with this time. And I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. People of different creeds, backgrounds, identities, etc., they all deserve support. I'm not going to ever pull an alt-right sneako speech. I am simply saying that sometimes wanting to be too virtuous for someone that doesn't deserve your graces is backwards as fuck, and you should maybe consider doing more research and investigation to make better conclusions about people. This goes both ways. If people knew more about the issues that they talked about or supported, they wouldn't be siding with someone as scummy as Keffals, and they wouldn't be defending the bathtub HRT scandal as a good or based thing. If people knew more about JustAWorm and Mutahar, they wouldn't be smearing them or painting them as these bigoted transphobic individuals with weird vibes to them. This is yet just another case of Keffals using her identity as a shield in an attempt to ruin the credibility of her detractors, something that she does incredibly frequently, even if it means pulling the most batshit insane claims out of your ass. So I actually recorded this video last night, and I was only editing this morning and a little bit after the fact, and I noticed something very foul because of this. So JustAWorm actually did end up deactivating his account because of the amount of slanderous accusations and just straight up harassment that he was getting. It's very sad to see this, and it's very disheartening to see that artists, when they're expressing themselves justly, when they're making something they love to do, when they're making any type of art in general that doesn't even actually harm anybody, it's incredibly concerning how somebody can be ran off a platform when they haven't even done anything actually wrong. The discourse that's going on right now because of this caricature of a trans person is honestly so fucking disingenuous, and to use that as a crutch against somebody, to use that against somebody to make them run off a platform like this is incredibly disgusting, because there's been people in the art community, there's been other artists out there who have genuinely been caught doing terrible things, who have genuinely been caught like being pedophiles, being incredibly disgusting individuals, yet they haven't been ran out the platform. If anything, some of these people have actually received supports because of the creed they align with. I mean, Vosh had a genuine lolicon in his video. Well, not in his video, in his folders. He had genuine lolicon in his folders, and these motherfuckers defended that. Defended that because it was art instead of fucking defending this bullshit. And it's honestly disgusting to see. It's disgusting to see the double standard that these motherfuckers have over something simply because it's in criticism of somebody with a specific identity. Anyways, back to the video. Keffals lied to everyone. She's been lying for years. Her entire career is built on lies and fraud. She doesn't deserve this support. Just about everything she's complained about that people give her sympathy for has been lies. This tweet, for example. Oh, that's a respected YouTuber shining a massive spotlight onto a transgender streamer who has been harassed, doxxed, and swatted several times and had to flee the country, getting a huge video dropped on her using a grotesque character to advertise it whilst they/theming her. When, again, that didn't even actually happen. Why go out of your way to make Mutahar the villain of someone's bad decisions, especially if the video explains thoroughly how most of that is something she lied about, consistently, almost boldly? Well, it's because to a majority of these idiots, all they care about is a trans person, again, someone's identity, not leading to a toxic environment for other trans individuals, again, identity politics. That's all these people know how to argue. They'd much rather support their self-interest instead of understand that there's human beings such as Keffals defrauding the very same community that you're preaching for. Instead of holding the individual accountable, they're more concerned for the politics behind it. It's embarrassing, really. That being said, I want to make it clear that I support trans individuals, I support the LGBTQ community, I support people's rights to express themselves in a way that makes life worth living. I support people's needs to live their lives the way they need to. I support humans' freedom, so I don't want any bullshit arguments in my comments. I just bit my tongue. Anyways, I don't want any bullshit arguments in my comments taking what I'm saying as incredibly transphobic, and I don't want the other side of that coin being transphobic because of what I'm saying, because that's not my intent. Now that I got out of the way, Keffals really deserves the criticism, and this stupid-ass drama about a thumbnail is the last thing people should be focusing on. Instead, they should actually watch Mutahar's video and learn why she's receiving this backlash in the first place. Also, Keffals.
Unblock me, bitch!
Because I would like to easily